Everyone down here with little baby Eric, who's 2 weeks old. A little fellow who just came into the world. Today I'm going to make a cob loaf, a bacon and cheese cob loaf. I'm going to fill it with the cream cheese once I've done it, but I'm going to do it in the camp oven. So I'm going to first make my dough, and I'm going to put cheese in it. I've got some basil, obviously all the usual things, yeast. I did some bacon and some onion, really finely chopped, not much, just a small little onion and 3 of the eyes from middle rashers of bacon, and cooked that till it was translucent to go into the actual bread itself. So to make the bread, I'm doing this as a test run for when we go camping. Obviously I won't have this machine out there, this is my wife's, but I want to just see if I can actually do it in the camp oven before I go out camping. So I'm starting off with 750 grams of baker's flour. I'm just going to throw that in there like that. 3 tablespoons of yeast. Teaspoons, sorry. 3 teaspoons of yeast. About a half just corrected me. I'm also going to throw a couple of teaspoons of salt in there, or maybe a teaspoon and a half of salt. There we go. And just for a bit of extra oomph, I'm going to put just a half a teaspoon of pepper. Just black pepper. I like pepper, so. And I might add just a touch of garlic powder as well. I didn't put garlic into that. I didn't want to have it too strong, but I thought I'll just add a little bit of garlic powder to this to give it some extra flavour. So now, I'll just throw my cheese in. My basil that I cut up finely. I'm going to let this machine do all the work and mix all this together so I don't have to, and my onion and bacon mix. I could just leave this as a normal bread cooked in the camp oven just with these extra ingredients in it, but I want to make the actual cob loaf using cream cheese, sour cream and normal cheese, cutting it out like we do at home, but obviously out camping, so it's my experimental run. Now I'll just add my dough hook to my fancy machine, or my wife's, and get that going. And I can start adding water. So I've got 500 millilitres of water here, and I'll just add that slowly. I'll just let that dry mix up for a minute or so, just to combine all those ingredients. Then I'm going to start adding my water. Okay, so that's been combining now for about 2 minutes, so I'll just start adding my water slowly to that. Wonderful thing about these machines, I'll just do that until it's forming a nice ball, knead it for 10 minutes. So I've got half a litre, like I said, of lukewarm water here. That'll just help activate the yeast, because what I'll do is once this is combined all together and in a nice ball, I'll leave it for about 2 hours to rise before I bother about cooking it in the camp oven. So I'm just going to keep adding that water slowly, nice and slowly to that. Starts kneading together. I'll keep going. I had that mixing for about 2 minutes just to combine all the ingredients together before I did that. I've also got the smoker outside. I'm going to do some ribs and teach my little fella here how to cook. So you can start to hear the machine starting to put a little bit of effort in now. There's a bit of water in there, and that'll just keep combining nice and slowly. So I'll come back once that's in a ball and I'll show you what it looks like once I've got it all mixed together. Okay, so I've had that kneading for about 10 minutes now, and you can see that's formed quite a nice dough ball over the dough hook of our bread making, dough making machine. Oh, little fella, Rexy, leave him alone. So now, I'm just going to take that out, put it on my board, give it a good roll, and put it in a bowl to set aside for the next couple of hours just to rise. So I'm happy with that consistency. I didn't end up using the full 500 mils. I used about 350, maybe 400. One thing I did as well is I added about 2 tablespoons of olive oil to the mix as I was dry kneading it. So I'll let that rest, and I shall look after my young fella before I put that in the camp oven and we see how we go with that. Okay, so I've got my heat beads ready, nice and glowing. I've got my camp oven here ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this camp oven up, and I'm going to just preheat it a little bit so that we can get this cob loaf in here and cooked. So what I'll do is I'm going to place 4 on the bottom, like such. Found if I use too many, you burn the bottom, so I put about 6, 7 last time. So I'm just going to put the 4 on the bottom like that. Place the camp oven on there like such. So the good thing about this, like I said, I'm just mucking around at home to get this ready for camping, so I can try this when I'm actually out having a camp, is that'll start to put heat through, and there's airflow underneath because I'm using this grill from my smoker. So what I'll do then is I'll just place this on here, put the remainder of these heat beads on the lid. I find it's better to have the heat coming from the top when you're doing bread in your camp oven, rather than having it come from the bottom, because that way you won't burn the bottom so bad. Now I've got 4 on the bottom, 6 on the top so far. I can always take 1 or 2 off. That's 8, 9. So there's 10 on there, and that'll just preheat that camp oven. So I'll come back in a minute and I'll put that cob loaf in there and get that cooking. Right, so now I've preheated that oven. I've got my bread here, or my cob loaf here, which has risen quite a fair bit, as you can see. So I'm going to place that in the camp oven, and it should be hot enough now to cook this. I'll probably put it in for 25 minutes. So I'm just going to lift that lid up. I want to be rather gentle with this because I don't want it to, hopefully you won't be able to see it, but I've got a little trivet on the bottom, like a wire rack that sits just above the bottom, so it's not actually, get out, Harry. So it's not just on the bottom. And I'm going to place that in there as such. And it's good, it's got some clearance room. I'll keep that off the side. I'll give that about 25 to 30 minutes, and that should be right. There's not blistering heat coming off the bottom, which is good. It's still hot enough to cook that base. So that there is now the bread done, or the cob loaf done. And now I'll get onto the mixture, which I'm going to put into that once it's all cooked. The cheese mixture, which will cut the guts out of that, and we'll put it into that, and we'll get that all done. Right, so now we're onto the mix we're going to put into the cob loaf. So what I've got here is some sour cream, normal thickened cream, onion chives, some bacon, which I sliced up finely, and some cream cheese here, which comes in a roll. So I'm going to mix all this together in this pot and cook it on top of my barbecue top there, so that I can, and some garlic powder, other ingredients I'm going to throw in here. So I'll just slice this open, and I shall squeeze this, put this into here, like such. Combine all the ingredients together, it's pretty basic. There's the cream cheese. This is just normal cheddar cheese, about 2 cups worth, which I'll just add into there. Sour cream, which we had a little bit of this the other night, but that's alright, not too worried. Roll that out into there. Go. Bacon, which I think that was 5 of the eyes that come from the middle rashers. I'm just going to put a bit of garlic powder in that. I love garlic. I thought about putting some minced garlic in here, but that might be a little too strong. Crack some pepper into it. I won't worry about putting salt because there's already enough salt in the bacon. I love my pepper, so we'll get a bit of that in there. My wife isn't a fan of pepper like I am, but she'll get over it. And the cream. So what I'll do here is I'll melt this all on the stove. I'll combine it all first, just roughly. Not really going to matter too much. It's going to melt all on the stove anyway, so I'm not too worried. I'll get this started up. And I'll come back and check, make sure that camera angle's right. Hopefully it is. And what I'll do is I'll just heat this up, melt it all into the filling over the heat of this. And then I can cut the guts out of that cob loaf, which I'll go through later, and put it in, bake it a little bit more. And then we'll toast all the insides of the cob loaf that come out, so that we can then use this as the dip of the cob loaf. So I'll get through to this, I'll cook all this up, and I'll come back when this is ready. So I've got that all melted in. It's just a little runny, so I'm going to add a bit more cheese to that just to thicken it up a little bit. About another cup. According to my wife, you don't actually put cream in it, so that's it's all good. We'll just thicken that up with a bit of extra cheese, a bit more cheesiness, and stir that in, and that should thicken up nicely. So I'll come back in a minute. I've just checked that cob loaf and it's looking rather nice. Just melt that in, and this is actually tasting good, but it's just a little runny, so that's all right. It'll still work fine for what I want to do with it, and that should thicken up once it's cooled down a little bit anyway. All right, so I'll be back in a tick with a cob loaf. All right, so I've got this ready. I just put a teaspoon of corn flour in it to thicken it up. Sorry, probably shouldn't have put as much cream as I did in, but it still tastes really nice, so that's the main thing. We've got our cob loaf here cooking away in the camp oven. I've added 3 extra heat beads to the bottom, and I just grabbed a few more out of the smoker over there, which I'm using to do those ribs at the moment. I'll put all these back when they're done, but that's how we're looking at the moment. So it's only going to get golden on the top, but it's just a little bit raw on the side still. That's all right. I'll give that an extra 10 to 15 minutes. I want that nice and golden. If I need to, I might even add a couple more extra heat beads just to get that going, but it's better to start off with there's not much heat than it is to start off with a heap of heat and burn it. So I'm happy to adjust my heat beads to compensate for the amount of heat in there. So that's how that's looking at the moment. So I'll come back hopefully in about 15 minutes, put a few more heat beads here, and hopefully that'll be done. All right, so this should be about ready right now. I've get the lid off, and yeah, look at that. Oh, bit of steam coming up from there, but that's looking nice. So I'll get that onto the bread loaf. Oh, sorry, onto the chopping board, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've given this about 5 minutes to cool down a little bit. I'd like to give it a bit more, but due to restrictions on sunlight, I might do it now. So what we'll do is we'll just cut this top off like this in order to fill it, stuff it. So I'm not really too concerned being a bit rough. It's actually really hot at the moment because I took it out of the oven about 5 minutes ago. So there we go. I'll take that off and I'll put that to the side. I don't really want it sitting on the bench, so I'll put it there. And what I'll do is I'll just cut around here. It's nice and moist, having just been cooked. I'm going to start to take this out. Oh, there we go. Because I'm going to put the filling in here. Wow. That's lovely. It smells good. Because I'm going to toast this afterwards. So I want to scoop the inside out, even down to the base, because that's nice and hard down the base. So I'll scoop a lot of this out, like I am right now, just using the knife. And most of this here, don't worry about it. It's not going to go to waste. It's all going to be used to scoop the dip out with. So I actually want to try to keep that in decent chunks. So it's still hot and it's still steaming, so it would have been nice to leave it for a couple more minutes, but just due to time restrictions and the light, I'll cut all this out. We'll end up toasting this back in the camp oven, but I'm about to fill this with the stuffing I made. So happy that's everything out of there. So now I'll fill this with this mix that I made. I probably got a little bit too much, but that's fine. So you can see it, and I'll start pressing that in. So, and this is going to go back into the camp oven. Make sure it's off to the sides. If I've got a little bit left, which I don't know if I will, I might have actually... No, there we go. That's about it. Right there, that's full. So that's good. A little bit more just for good luck's sake. All right, I've got a little bit left, but nothing that can't go into a container and be frozen just for a bun or two later on. So now, what I'll do, if I can, I put all the heat beads back into my smoker over there. I'm going to place this back into the camp oven, and there's still a fair bit of residual heat. I won't actually touch that lid yet. I'll place that back on there, and I'll grab a heap more heat beads out of here, or not too many, but enough to get some heat back on that lid. Obviously these tongs aren't the best for it, but they do the job to get some heat back into that camp oven. So I'll come back in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or so when I think it's right, and I'll just put a couple more heat beads on the top and we'll come back and have a look at that. Alright, so that's been in there about 5 minutes, just heating that back up, and that's looking really nice. Now, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that out. It's probably a bit hot. I'm trying to hold the camera with one hand and take it out. So what I'll do is I'll put that onto the chopping board, and then what I'll do is I'll throw all of these bread pieces here that came out of the guts in there for 5 minutes, let them toast up nicely, and we'll come back and have a look at how that goes. So we've got this whole cob loaf cooked now, and I've filled it, obviously cooked it before. I toasted the inside. There's a little bit left in the camp oven I'm just keeping warm, but the better half's now going to try it, and I'll snap a bit off of the lid as well and see how we go, but it shouldn't be too bad. I'll give it to the better half if she wants some more, and she'll tell us how it is. Is it alright? There we go. I'll try it myself with a little bit of the guts just dipped into that. And try that. Yeah, it's quite good. There's definitely the onion in the bread from when I cooked the onion into the bread before. I'm quite happy with that. I think I probably could have cooked the bread a little bit hotter. So I'd recommend, if anything, just cooking the bread with a few more heat beads. This was a home job experimentation, so I can take it out camping. So next time when I go camping, I'll obviously make everything up at home before I go out, but I'll make sure there's a lot more heat in that camp oven first. But it's turned out really nice, which is the main thing. So until next time, this is Dan with my cob loaf out.